The truth about Jon Snow's new enemies beyond the wall. The White Walkers are dead. The Night King is shattered into 1,000 pieces of magical ice. The army of the dead is permanently retired. So why is HBO bringing Jon Snow back for an entire series set beyond the wall? Because what is waiting for him up there makes the White Walkers look like a minor inconvenience. The truth about Jon's new enemies is so terrifying, so fundamentally world-changing, that it rewrites everything we thought we knew about Westeros and the magic that built it. Quick thing before we dive into the nightmare fuel. Smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, because Westeros' throne is about to reveal secrets that even the Maesters tried to erase from history, and you absolutely need to be here for every single revelation. Let us start with the obvious question. What could possibly be more dangerous than an army of undead led by an ice demon riding a zombie dragon? The answer is simple and absolutely horrifying. Everything that created the White Walkers in the first place. See, the Night King was not the disease. He was just a symptom. The Children of the Forest created the White Walkers using ancient magic as a weapon against the First Men during their war thousands of years ago. But here is what nobody asked. Where did that magic come from? What power did the children tap into that was strong enough to create an entire species of ice demons? And most importantly, what happens to that power now that the White Walkers are gone? Think of it like this. The White Walkers were a locked door, keeping something even worse contained. The Night King and his army were not invading Westeros. They were fleeing from something, running from a threat so catastrophic that even creatures made of ice and death wanted absolutely nothing to do with it. And Jon Snow, bless his perpetually traumatized soul, is about to discover exactly what that something is. Spoiler alert, he is not going to like it. Reports from inside sources close to the Snow production suggest that the series will introduce enemies that are not just physical threats, but magical catastrophes. We are talking about entities that predate the Children of the Forest, forces that existed before the First Men ever set foot in Westeros. Ancient powers that have been sleeping beneath the ice for so long that even their names have been forgotten. And now, with the magical balance disrupted by the Night King's destruction, these forces are waking up, hungry, angry, and very interested in the man who killed their favorite puppet. Here is where it gets absolutely insane. Jon Snow is not just some random target for these new enemies. He is specifically important to them. Remember, Jon died and came back to life. He has both Stark and Targaryen blood. He is ice and fire made flesh. His very existence is a magical anomaly that these ancient forces can sense like sharks smelling blood in the water. To them, Jon Snow is not a hero or a king or a brooding pretty boy with excellent hair. He is a beacon, a signal, a walking, talking advertisement that powerful magic still exists in the world and can be exploited. Now let us talk about what these enemies might actually be. The most popular theory floating around is that they're the old gods made manifest. Not the benign tree spirits that the Northerners pray to, but the original entities that those prayers were meant to appease. Think Lovecraftian horror, mixed with Norse mythology and a healthy dose of Westeros weirdness. Being so alien and powerful that human minds can barely comprehend them. The weirwood trees are not just religious symbols. They are prisons, seals, magical wards keeping something contained. And the more weirwoods that have been cut down over the centuries, the weaker those seals have become. The Children of the Forest knew this. That is why they created the White Walkers in the first place. Not as a weapon against the First Men, but as a secondary defense against what lurked even further north. The White Walkers were the lesser evil, the acceptable loss, the price the children were willing to pay to keep the real monsters locked away. But then the Night King got ideas above his station, decided he wanted to kill everyone instead of just guarding the frozen wasteland, and the whole plan went sideways. Now the guards are gone, and the prisoners are breaking free. But wait, it gets worse. There is evidence in the books that George R.R. Martin never finished exploring in the show. References to the others, the true name for White Walkers, having a language and a culture. Hints that they were not mindless killing machines, but an actual civilization with goals and motivations. What if the Night King was not leading an invasion, but a desperate evacuation? What if his march south was not about conquering the realms of men, but about escaping something even he could not defeat? That reframes the entire conflict. The humans and the White Walkers were not enemies. They were both prey. And Jon Snow just killed the only thing standing between humanity and absolute annihilation. Oops. Talk about unintended consequences. This is like nuking a zombie outbreak without realizing the zombies were actually protecting you from the vampire apocalypse waiting in the wings. Jon saved the world from one threat only to expose it to something infinitely worse. And now he gets to deal with the aftermath. Alone, beyond the wall, with no backup, no dragons, and no idea what he is actually facing. Here is another terrifying possibility. What if the new enemies are not creatures at all, but the land itself? The far north beyond the wall is described in ancient texts as a place where the laws of nature do not apply, where time moves differently, where the barriers between life and death, reality and nightmare, are paper-thin. Magic is not just something that exists there. It is the foundation of existence there. Every rock, every snowflake, every breath of frozen air is saturated with power that has been accumulating for millennia. And that power has consciousness, intent, hunger. Jon Snow is walking into a realm where the environment itself is the enemy, where the snow can kill you, where the wind whispers secrets that drive men mad, where shadows have teeth and the ice remembers every drop of blood ever spilled upon it. This is not a battle that can be won with swords or strategy. This is a battle of wills, a test of whether Jon's humanity can survive in a place where humanity was never meant to exist. And considering Jon's track record with losing pieces of himself every time he faces impossible odds, this does not bode well for our favorite brooding hero. There is also the Ghost angle, and yes, I'm going there because Ghost deserves more screen time, and we all know it. Dire wolves are magical creatures connected to the old magic of the North. Ghost is albino with red eyes, which is significant in a world where colors mean everything. White and red, ice and fire. Jon is completely on his own for this fight. No allies, no armies, no dragons swooping in for last-minute rescues. Just Jon, Ghost, maybe some wildlings who are crazy enough to follow him, and whatever scraps of ancient knowledge he can piece together before something unspeakable drags him into the darkness. This is Jon Snow at his most vulnerable and most dangerous. A man with nothing left to lose, facing enemies that should not exist. And somehow, he has to find a way to win. Again, thank you for watching Westeros Throne. Winter came, and apparently it brought friends.